Alright, I wanted to cover a couple of simple and I believe inexpensive ways that can help improve the efficiency and remove some of the bottlenecks in the current process. Again, this may have changed since the recording of this video, but it is based on what I experienced when I went to the embassy at the end of July. One of the biggest, if not the biggest bottleneck was people not having the required documents at the ready. There were several issues I saw in person, including someone who forgot their originals. There was another person who did not have all their passport photos, things like payment receipts not being brought to the embassy. But what this meant is that as Abdi is going through the documents, right? And again, as I mentioned in the previous video, he's just like a one-man show. So he's going through and he's checking, okay, do you have the application? Yeah, you have your ID and original and the copy, sure. You have your birth certificate and the copy, sure. Oh, great. You have your 3 passport photos, great. And you have the receipts, no. So now he has to do this for each and every person. So this really trickles down and just adds up, bogs down the process, and just becomes this huge bottleneck and a huge drainer, especially for those people who are ready and knowing that, you know, this person is just delaying the process, you know. So my suggestion is a simple one, and I hope this is something they can look to implementing in the future. Alright, on the right hand side here, I've just built a quick template in Word, and this is what I envision, right? I envision a template like this. There'll be different templates for each of the different passport application types, whether it's a completely new one, a renewal, a lost, mutilated, what have you, right? But you have this template. So this form needs to be filled out in the first waiting room. So as I mentioned in the previous video, when you get to the embassy, you go to the Wangari Maathai conference room, and it kind of acts like an overflow room. I believe that you should be given this. Make sure that you check all this, and then you'll be able to register, right? You'll be able to register that you're able to have all the documents required and move on to the next step. Abdi does not have to waste time trying to make sure that you have all the documents. When you go and see him, he's just trying to make sure that everything is in order. If there's any additional steps that might be required for you personally, that you have to look into that. He's troubleshooting anything that is not missing documents, because that was the biggest time waster in my opinion. So I think this is something that they can easily print out. You know, I've written this is not an official document. I've just kind of envisioned how it can look like, but they can put their logo there, you know, some other information. But you check off this, and for the ones that you maybe not required, like the copy of the green card, if that doesn't apply to your situation, you can put an NA there. But anything else that's required needs to be checked off before you register. Before your name gets on that registry, you have to have all the required documents ready. Then you can go to the next step. Then they can have somebody who is in this other waiting room, in the first waiting room, who can try to help out the people who didn't bring the documents or whatever special circumstances they have. But everybody else who is ready, prepared, they can move on to the next step. Alright, so what we have here is a simple list of how the documents should be placed in the Manila folder you're provided once you go to the embassy. This is not a comprehensive list. I can see it's some documents I missed, but anyhow, the point is that the Abdi has to repeat this information at least once a day. What happens is that first group that goes into the secondary waiting room is given these instructions, and then they are tasked by Abdi to tell anybody who's coming in later on in the day from the other overflow room these instructions, how to order the documents, and some other specific piece of information, including where to write your US/Canada phone number and how to place a photograph. There was a piece regarding the recommender's signature. So all that has to be repeated. The one thing which I did like about that process is that at least in my opinion, it demonstrated this thing I love about Kenyans, and that kinship, even though we're not kin, right? We are countrymen and women, and people are really eager to show each other how to get this process done, and so that they could move along. That interaction is going to be taken away if this is implemented. But if you ever play that game with the phone on the string, you understand that some things get lost in translation, and that could happen as people either skip some of these instructions and then they start passing down incomplete instructions, and that means maybe Abdi has to repeat the instructions again. Having this list will ensure that, number one, he doesn't have to continuously repeat himself, make that process a little bit faster, and secondly, it standardizes the process by ensuring that somebody just has to look at this document, which can be printed on the back of the previous checklist, you know, have it in a one nice neat place, but they just have to look at this, understand what needed, how it should be arranged, and so this can really speed up the process. Alright, so this piece of the process, I feel that it definitely can be done away with without impacting the Kenyan interaction I was talking about in the previous video. And this was Abdi having to write the word email and telephone on each of the Manila folders that he had to provide to all the applicants. Unless that there was a strange day and something was missing, maybe I missed something. But if this is something that he has to do every single time, then this can definitely be either automated or removed. And it's a repetitive task and it's nothing personalized. I just went to some website. And again, this is not an official document here. here, but I just kind of threw this together. Here's one of my ideas. This is a more elegant of the solutions, right? Definitely more spendy, but have a manila, this manila, did you hear that shrub? Have a manila folder customized and printed to your organization's needs. And I know it costs a little bit more money, but imagine having this folder, and I don't know why it cut off some of the spearheads over here, but having this folder, it's got the Embassy of Kenya information here, what this folder is, containing, and then it gives the instructions here, email in capitals, US, Canada phone number. Visually, it's more appealing. You can also remove some of the repetitive tasks of having to write in the email and phone number on each of those folders. Again, that's something that Abdi needs to find a way of not having to do, especially the number of people going there. It's only going to exponentially grow as you get closer to 2020, March 1st. So he needs to find a way of removing this process from his day-to-day activities. So if not a manila folder, there are a couple of different mailing label templates available, and this is just something, again, I threw in word. It's not an official document, but they can come in various sizes. I think this is the 4¼ by 5½ size landscape, but you can have this, just have these labels printed. It's probably going to be cheaper than the previous option of manila folders. It's not going to be as elegant, but it's going to do the job, right? It's going to serve the purpose that this is from the Embassy of Kenya. This is the e-passport application. You're supposed to put your email in capitals, and then you write your US Canada phone number. So it could be, again, customized to add a more personalized feel and a look of professionalism than writing email and telephone. Not that Abdi's handwriting was illegible or anything, but this can be done relatively inexpensively. I'm not going to say cheaply, inexpensively, and reduce the task which needs to be removed from this process and help move this process along. So those are a couple of my suggestions on how to improve the process for the e-passport application at the Kenyan Embassy.